Hey, what's happening? I'm Ross. Did America and the Fed just bail out the Swiss National Bank in Switzerland? Um, Looks like Switzerland or the Swiss National Bank is taking some unusually large draws out of the Federal Reserve. Let's get in this article out of Reuters right now. Swiss National Bank makes another big draw on Fed swap line. This is October 21st. This is out of Reuters staff. I think that's how you pronounce it, Reuters. Zurich. The Swiss National Bank this week drew more than $11 billion from U.S. Federal Reserve's currency swap line, another sharp rise from the week earlier amount New York Fed data released on Thursday showed. The Swiss National Bank (SNB) had drawn nearly 6.3 billion the week before and 3.1 billion the week before that. So that means over the last 3 weeks, the Swiss National Bank has withdrawn like $20 billion out of the Fed. That's a lot. And it's only been over 3 weeks, so that's unusually high. The three transactions were larger than any of the draws the S&B made during the spring of 2020 when it and other central banks tapped the Fed for billions of dollars during the global market panic that erupted in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. So, in the last 3 weeks, the last three transactions, not one, but the last three transactions were bigger than any time that the Swiss National Bank withdrew any money out of the Fed during the coronavirus pandemic. So they just had 3 weeks of larger, when the whole world was shut down, they didn't borrow this much money. In 3 consecutive weeks, they borrowed more than that each week. The latest swap covered 7-day liquidity at an annualized rate of 3.33%, the same as for the previous two tranches. So they're paying 3.33% on this money. But $20 billion, that's a lot of money to bring out, especially in 3 weeks. And they didn't do the whole of the COVID pandemic. They didn't borrow that much money, or they didn't draw on that much money. The S&B referred to its auction of resulting in 17 parties have participated in its dollar auction this week and declined further comment. The S&B is one of 5 foreign central banks with whom the Fed has established standing currency swap lines. They are available also to the European Central Bank, that's the EU, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, and allow those banks to deliver dollar funding to financial institutions in their own jurisdictions. The European Central Bank drew $210.5 million and the Bank of Japan $1 million via swap lines this week. Right? So look, if you look at the European Union and Japan, they're nowhere near withdrawing or borrowing or whatever the case may be what Switzerland is. Right? $20 billion over the last 3 weeks. There's something going on there. Listen, I ain't no Wall Street banker. I'm not in the Illuminati, but that's something seems fishy there. Something seems fishy. Maybe that wouldn't be so concerning, or maybe I wouldn't be so suspicious, except for the fact that in addition to the Swiss National Bank drawing almost $20 billion over the last 3 weeks, one of the largest Swiss banks is having troubles, right? If we go into the story, this is out of the Wall Street Journal. This story came out, I believe, October 3rd. Concerns about Credit Suisse mount after debt slide. And I don't want to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to point out some highlights here. Credit Suisse Group AG came under renewed pressure over its financial health after the value of its riskiest bonds sank and the cost to insure against default rose sharply, right? So the money that people are charging to insure against Credit Suisse defaulting is going up sharply, meaning they believe that there's a more likelihood chance that Credit Suisse will default. Again, this isn't the Swiss National Bank, but this is Credit Suisse, one of the largest Swiss banks. The 166-year-old bank is one of the best capitalized in Europe by regulatory measures, but it may need to raise billions of dollars in new stock to fund a pending restructuring and rising legal costs, analysts say. So again, we have evidence here that Credit Suisse, one of Switzerland's largest banks, is desperate to raise funds, and they're facing problems. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to read the whole thing. I don't want to go through the whole thing here, but just want to go to. There's another article, and this one came out the 24th, so just a couple days ago. Credit Suisse near sale of securitized products groups, right? So, again, this is just more evidence that Credit Suisse is desperately raising capital, right? And does the Swiss National Bank drawing down $20 billion over the last 3 weeks have anything to do with Credit Suisse and their troubles? I don't know. I'm not in the Bilderberg group, so they don't let me know these type of things. But it seems to me there's something going on. Where there's smoke, there's fire. On Friday, Credit Suisse sold an 8.6 stake in funds distributor Allfunds Group for around $327 million and raised an additional cash from a 30% stake in a fund manager. It put the Savoy Hotel in Zurich up for sale in recent weeks to raise potentially $500 million. So obviously, Credit Suisse is trying to raise capital desperately. Credit Suisse has been talking to investors about whether it needs additional capital. Among those considering investing are the Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund and some existing Credit Suisse shareholders, according to people familiar with the matter. So basically, we have the Swiss National Bank drawing down over $20 billion over the last 3 weeks, and then you've got noted problems in Credit Suisse, which is the largest Swiss bank there is. Do the two have anything to do with each other? No, I don't know. It seems to me like there's just been a quiet bailout that just went on right now, quietly. I'm not saying that shouldn't have been done, and I'm not saying that, but right, that just seems so suspicious that the Swiss National Bank draws, more than they did during the whole coronavirus pandemic, and also though Credit Suisse, the bank, is in trouble and on the ropes, and looks like it's desperately trying to raise capital to impress investors and analysts and whatnot. So I don't know. I'm just putting the dots together. I'm not in the Bilderberg group. I'm not in the Illuminati. I'm just a guy sitting here reading news articles. And I'm some rando on the internet, so don't trust me. You should do your own research. If you got any value out of this video, please consider hitting the like button, even subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it would help me out immensely. Appreciate it. Peace.